everyone and a good Shabbos. There's a lovely, beautiful story told about a chassid who was very poor. A lot of the chassidim in the whole country were poor. It wasn't America. And it came time for Sukkot, and he couldn't afford to buy an esrog. So it's Erev Sukkot, he has no money to buy an esrog, and he's thinking, what am I going to do? Yontif is coming, I can't afford an esrog. So when he finished the davening, he all of a sudden realizes something. He realizes that the holiday of Sukkot is beginning. There's 9 days if you're outside of Israel. He says for the next 9 days we don't put on tefillin. He says maybe I should sell my because tefillin I don't have to do the mitzvah for another 9 days. Esrog I need tomorrow morning for the next 9 days in esrog. And there's a law that if something is more pressing, you perform the mitzvah that's more pressing at that moment. He's so excited, he runs out of shul, he goes to the market, he finds someone to buy his tefillin, he takes the money, he goes and buys the most beautiful esrog, he comes home, he's full of joy. He has faith, God will find the money to buy tefillin after the holiday. Right now he has an esrog, he's overjoyed. He puts it down on the counter, and then later he runs out to do a few more errands. He comes back, he says to his wife, you know what I did? I did something so brilliant, I sold my tefillin, I have faith, God will give me money, I bought a beautiful esrog. She says, show me the esrog. He says, it's right here. He goes to look, it's gone. He says, 1 minute, I left it at the counter. She says, Oy Gewalt, I was cutting up a salad and I needed a lemon. I saw this lemon on the counter. I thought it was a lemon. I cut it up and put it in the salad. He looks at her. He runs over, he gives her a big hug and a kiss. She says, Yankel, you lost your mind totally. You went over the deep end. Meshuggah Gevarin. He says, listen. He says, this morning I finished putting on tefillin, and I said, okay, what's the mitzvah right now? The mitzvah right now is to have a little of an esrog. So I sold my tefillin to get a little of an esrog. When you told me that you cut up the esrog, you thought it was a lemon, you put it in the salad, I said to myself, what's the mitzvah right now? Now that I don't have an esrog, what's my mitzvah? My mitzvah is to love my wife. So I gave you a big hug and a kiss. It's a very powerful lesson. The lesson is that you always have to live in the moment. What's right now that I have to be experiencing and doing right now? Had he got angry at his wife and shouted at his wife and yelled at his wife, he still wouldn't have an esrog for Yontif. But he wouldn't have the joy of Yontif either. Now at least he had a happy Yontif with his wife. He had Simchas Yontif. In this week's parsha we have a very interesting mitzvah. You know, everyone has been to a bris, a circumcision, a brit milah. This week's parsha talks about a different kind of a brit milah. It says that you should circumcise the foreskin of your heart. Umaltem et alat levachem. What does the Torah mean? You should circumcise the foreskin of your heart. So unlike a baby that's born with foreskin and has to be removed, we're born innocent and pure. When you hold a little baby in your hands, this baby has no hatred, has no jealousy, has no anger, has no resentment. He's pure and innocent, or she is pure and innocent. But with life, it goes on, and get older, sometimes we start getting foreskin, we start covering up the feelings of our heart. We can't feel properly because we hold grudges, we hold resentment, we hold negative feelings that begin to cover up on our inner heart, and it doesn't allow us to experience life fully in the moment because we carry old grudges and baggages. And the Torah says you have to circumcise the foreskin of your heart. You have to remove those layers so you could be in the moment. Because if you have foreskin over your heart, your heart doesn't function properly. It's God forbid like somebody has a heart condition. They need to have a bypass. They have to bypass all the blockage in order so the heart could pump its blood. Sometimes we need a spiritual bypass to bypass all the anger, the resentment, the negative feelings, and remove the foreskin of our heart. And this is not just when you're 8 days old. It's every day of your life. And feel whatever you have to feel in that moment, experience it, and don't allow old feelings to cover up on the potential of new feelings that could be created at this very moment. This Shabbat we're going to bless the month of Elul, which means we're now in the home stretch before the high holidays. Elul is the time we start blowing the shofar and start preparing for the high holidays. And our rabbis say you can come to shul on the high holidays and ask God for forgiveness for any sin you've committed against God, and God will forgive you. Guaranteed, as long as you do teshuvah wholeheartedly and sincerely. But there's one category of sins our rabbis say, God says, sorry, I can't help you. I'm God, but I'm powerless in this area. And that is sins between man and fellow man. God says you need to work it out with your fellow man. You need to ask for forgiveness. You need to remove the foreskin of your heart and allow your heart to feel again properly. Because I cannot forgive you for wrongdoing between you and your fellow man. So this is the time to ask for forgiveness and to give forgiveness. And that's the way we prepare for the high holidays and ready ourselves to receive Hashem as our King for the new year. A beautiful quote I just heard when I was at the JLI retreat. Someone said, amongst the many pearls of wisdom that were taught there, was someone said, if you change the way you look at people, people change. We have to look at people with new eyes, maybe move the foreskin from our eyes. And when we look at them in a new light, we change the way we look at people, people actually change and start living up to our perspective and our expectations of them.